One of the main things the FNaF games are known for is their difficulty. This is because all the games have some kind of really difficult challenge that takes lots of skill to beat, a max mode. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the third FNaF game, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, along with what I found to be the most optimal strategy to beat its hardest challenge, Aggressive Nightmare Mode. If you haven't seen my last videos in this series on the first two games, I highly recommend watching at least my FNaF 1 video before this one, as it goes over some mechanics that are universal to the series that I won't really go over as in depth in this video. This is the third video in a series where I'm going to be breaking down and beating all the mainline FNaF games and their max modes. I've already beaten the first two games' max modes, and coming out of FNaF 2, I wasn't that worried about the third game, since I'd heard it's more luck-based than skill-based, unlike the last game. But maybe, that's not necessarily a good thing. The first huge change from the previous two games is that there's no power mechanic. However, the other new features make up for this. The camera system has been completely overhauled. You now have an audio lure that you can use to lure an animatronic to a specific camera, the only animatronic that moves around the building being Springtrap, and there's now a new layer to the camera system called the vent cams, which you can close to prevent an animatronic from getting through. The vents connect different rooms in the building, including your office. This means that Springtrap can travel through the vents to get around the building faster, on top of him just wandering normally. On top of the new camera system, there is a new system restart menu you can pull up that shows different systems you have access to. These being the audio devices, camera system, and the ventilation. These systems can go offline throughout the night, and you'll need to restart them for them to be functional again. The audio devices will need to be reset if you use the audio lure too many times, the camera system will go out if you use the cameras for too long, and the ventilation will slowly drain throughout the night and can forcefully be disabled by certain animatronics. This game has 7 animatronics, which means this game thankfully does not have as many as FNaF 2. These animatronics are Springtrap, Phantom Freddy, Phantom Chica, Phantom Foxy, Phantom Mangle, Phantom Puppet, and Phantom Balloon Boy. Another thing that sets this game apart from the first two is that only one animatronic is a real threat, with Springtrap being the only one that can actually end your run, while the others just make Springtrap harder to deal with. Springtrap's movement works a bit differently than the previous games. This is going to get a bit in depth for a second, so bear with me here. Springtrap can start on cam 6 through 10 and increases his move counter by 1 every second. Then it will be compared to 3 other values. AI, which is always the same as the night number besides for night 6 when it's 7. Aggressive, which can increase from 0 to 1 when any of these things happen, or every 15 seconds if a random number from 0 to 4 is less than the current AI value, and total turns, which increases by 1 every time Springtrap fails a movement. Then, his movement counter is compared to these values, and if it's higher than all those values combined, he will move. This creates a kind of comeback mechanic where every time he fails a movement, it increases the chance he will move next opportunity. Phantom Freddy's AI values work the same as Springtrap. He can spawn starting on night 3, and every minute he has an AI in 12 chance to appear, walking across your window. If he's visible for too long without you flipping up either of the monitors, he jump scares you and gives you a ventilation error, which all the Phantoms do except Mangle, who will cause an audio error after their jump scare. Phantom Freddy's basically just there to punish you if you idle in the office for too long. He's also forced to spawn at 4 AM. Phantom Chica also spawns on night 3 onwards and has an AI in 10 chance every 20 seconds to be queued to spawn next time you look at cam 7. If you look at cam 7 when she's there for too long, she will jump scare you. She's also forced to spawn at 5 AM if you're on the cams. Phantom Foxy is the only animatronic in the game that doesn't have an AI value, but instead a locked chance of him spawning. He can appear on night 2 onwards, with the odds of him spawning on each night being 1 in 1000, 1 in 50, 1 in 25, and 1 in 10 for nights 5 and 6. If you look at him directly, meaning he's at the center of your screen, he will jump scare you. Phantom Mangle appears on night 2 onwards and has an AI in 7 chance to be queued to spawn the next time you look at cam 4. If you look at cam 4 when they're there for too long, they'll force your cameras down, play a garbled radio noise for a bit, and cause an audio error. Phantom Puppet can spawn on night 4 onwards and has an AI in 10 chance to be queued on cam 8 every 20 seconds. If you look at her on the cameras for too long, she'll jump scare you, disabling the camera and system monitors for around 16 seconds as she follows your screen, causing your vision to fade in and out, allowing Springtrap to become more aggressive. She will also be forcefully spawned at 5 AM. Finally, Phantom Balloon Boy can spawn on night 2 onwards and has an AI in 10 chance to be queued on cams 1, 7, 9, or 10. As you can probably expect by now, if you look at him on the camera for too long, he'll jump scare you. He's also forced to spawn at 3 AM. Now let's get into the strategy I used to beat Five Nights at Freddy's 3 and its max mode, Aggressive Nightmare Mode. My strategy revolved around keeping Springtrap in the bottom half of the map for as long as I can, cams 6 through 10, but mainly 5. And if he left that camera, I would try to get him back as quick as possible. This may seem counterintuitive because you would think that the best strategy is keeping Springtrap as far away from your office as possible, but Springtrap actually has less movement options on the bottom half of the map. This is because there are only 2 vents on the lower half of the map, and only one of them can end your run. I mainly try to keep Springtrap in cam 5 because even though there's a vent in cam 5, I would leave it closed most of the night, so that when I was keeping him there, if he decided to go into the vent, he would fail his movement since the vent would already be closed, and he'd leave and go back to cam 5. If Springtrap is in front of your office, you can quickly lure him to cam 2, then back to the other lower half cameras. But if he's outside your door, using the audio lures won't work. However, if Springtrap is in front of your office or outside your door, you can stall for a bit by just staring at him. Eventually, Phantom Freddy will jump scare you though, which means Springtrap will probably get you. But if you're at 5 AM, you might be able to stall long enough to finish the night. You want to make sure that whenever you're trying to keep Springtrap somewhere, that the nearest vent is always closed, since he can sometimes get a huge adrenaline rush, enter a vent, and go straight through all while you're rebooting something. Whenever he moved away from cam 5, I would lure him back, then if I had any errors, I would immediately go fix them right after luring Springtrap, since he just moved and would be less likely to move immediately again, though it can happen. You want to prioritize the systems in this order: ventilation, audio, and the camera system. The ventilation is the most important, and you want to fix it as fast as possible, since when it's happening, Springtrap can move faster. The audio is also very important, since without it, you can't lure Springtrap anywhere. The cameras actually aren't as required as you might think, since you can actually tell what area of the building Springtrap is in without the cameras. When you hear this sound, it means Springtrap is in cams 3 through 5, or Phantom Freddy has spawned, and if you hear it louder, then Springtrap is in cam 2 or outside your office. This means that even when you can't see your cameras, you can track Springtrap and where he is in the building. This does become an issue when he enters a vent though, since you may not know what vent he's in and not know which one to close, but it is still the least important of the 3 systems since you can survive without it. Also, don't reboot all the systems at once, since it's almost never worth it, as it takes really long and gives a lot of time for Springtrap to move. So instead, just prioritize the systems you need to reboot first, then lure Springtrap back to the bottom half of the map and finish rebooting the rest. This strategy basically eliminates all the phantoms except Freddy and Foxy. For Freddy, when he spawns, just keep flipping up the cameras until he leaves. To make sure Phantom Foxy doesn't jump scare you, whenever you go to the left side of your office, make sure you look before you fully turn, and if you see him, just flip up the cameras again. This re-rolls his spawn, making him likely to despawn. With this strategy in mind, after many annoying deaths to RNG, I was able to beat Aggressive Nightmare Mode. Yes. Oh my god. Yes. It's done. Holy crap. Oh my god. Okay. That was Aggressive Nightmare Mode. I beat Aggressive Nightmare Mode. Holy crap. There we go, the 4th and final star as well. And that concludes this video. I'm very glad to have gotten this out a lot quicker than my last FNaF 2 videos, so progress is going good on content, I think. Next will be my FNaF 4 video. I think that's it, so yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. I'm very glad this did not take 3 months to get out.